Hello everyone. Today we have one of the most special pieces that have landed in my collection, probably ever. This is the Todd Rexford Relativity, Mountain and Cloud. Let's have a look. Here we go. So the relativity model from Todd came around, I think around 4 years ago. And it's been, one of his most popular models, and, you can see why. I think in the last 4 years, 4 years, lightweight knives have been a lot more popular with collectors. Flippers are a lot more popular than in the past. It's really slim and very beautiful. It's got all the design elements that make it a Rexford, because he's able to make it's not a plain shape, but it's a really, really astounding looking piece, from the blade all the way to the frame. So where do we start? If you watched my past Rexford videos, you would know that I love how Todd is an innovator. He doesn't like to make the same things over and over again. And even though, at this point in time, this period, he uses a CNC machine, he has to code everything himself, and that takes a hell of a long time to do. You need to first learn that skill, and then you need to design the whole knife and make it. Normally if you use a CNC or a program, it takes a long time to set up, but once you set it up, you can make multiple copies of it more easily than single copies. But Todd doesn't do that. He uses the CNC machine purely for the art. And something like this, I think this knife took him 3-4 months to build, from start to finish, maybe even longer. That was just trying to follow his posts on Instagram. He doesn't do many posts or whip pics on his knives, but this particular one had maybe 6 posts on from the start designing until the end putting it together. I'm not even sure how he started coming up with this design, but it sure took him a long time to come up with all of the nooks and crannies. And let's go have a look at it a little more closely, starting again from the pivot. The pivot is made out of zirconium, really beautifully shaped. I believe he has used this shape on some other relativity models, but it is a really, really special pivot. You can see it is, fixed on this side and not fixed on this side. And again, this is zirconium, and you need a special tool if you want to take it apart, which I do not recommend because this is a really complex build. The frame is actually made of Damascus, which has been heat framed, and there is a carbon fiber overlay on top of the frame, beautifully no void carbon fiber, with again zirconium screws, which are custom and totally made by himself to screw in the carbon fiber onto the frame. And yes, you notice that I didn't point out that these Damascus pieces are inlays, because they are not inlays. They're actually one piece, same piece as the bolster. He is able to make this bolster and carve it out. Let's see, he carves out this section of the bolster, and then he carves out all of the different shapes, which I believe are what he means by clouds, or mountains, sorry. And then the cloud is the carbon fiber. If you look from the side, you can see that these are actually 3D, so lower here, higher here, and lower at the end. And they're not just random shapes. He deliberately made all of these shapes have this exact amount of razivity, and it looks really even between the first, second, and third piece, which is just incredible. Incredible. A piece like this you would never carry, just because, let's say you carry it, you scratch it, and he has to refinish it. He has to go in and sand this part. It's not going to be a mountain anymore. It's going to be, a flat surface. And it's going to lose its charm. So it's really awesome how Todd does this on both sides of the frame. The build itself is on a tab lock build, which he does a lot in his newer pieces because I think it allows the frame to be quite slim. This one is really light. As you can, trying to get it to focus, but basically is a tab lock, which is a liner that's placed inside of the carbon fiber, and it functions perfectly. It makes the knife a lot more light. It locks up perfectly. And if you notice, one of the really cool things about the the frame, the mountain part, is that because it is part of, the same frame, but so many different heights, he's able to make the mountain go up and down. Oops. Let's see, I'm gonna try to do this. So when you push the lock bar up, the mountain piece also comes up. Whoop. And then when the lock bar goes down, the mountain piece also goes down. Really neat touch. These are the details and the things that Todd does to differentiate himself from all the other makers. Just lovely. In terms of the fitment itself, a lot of makers, when they fit the knives together and they fit the frames, like two materials on a frame, is usually just flat. It's just like a flat piece where you kind of slide it in and try to match it. So that's the normal way of doing it, but Todd likes to put dovetails on it. So the next level is when you have, dovetails, which he does on a lot of his knives, where it's in an angle. And technically, when you have dovetails, the joint is more secure between the two materials. That's kind of like what dovetails are for, but it's also quite challenging because you have to grind the let's say the carbon fiber at the exact same angle as the frame, which is in a different angle, to make it fit perfectly. But Todd ones up this and makes a curved dovetail, which is extremely difficult. As you can see, this part is curved. This side is also curved. It comes down straight a little bit, but it's curved up, which is insane. You can see on the right side here, it's curved. And it's the same with the left side. Just amazing. Really love how Todd does this. I'm not sure if I can zoom in. I'm gonna try. I'm not sure. Maybe this helps, but there we go. In terms of the grind, again, perfect plunge. Damascus steel blade is just beautifully edged. All of Todd's knives are extremely, if you were to use this knife, it's extremely sharp. The blade stock is thinner than most of the makers, but I think it's just the right size for strength. It's not too fragile, yet it is really, really sharp. The action is typical. It drop shuts, and it fires really, really well. Fires hard, typical Todd stuff. This particular piece has a more quiet sound than other of Todd Rexford pieces, but because of the carbon fiber, you know, the tab lock, it's a little bit more subdued in terms of sound, but absolutely perfect action. The pocket clip is perfect as well with hidden hardware. I think this knife overall is incredible. You know, definitely one of Todd's best pieces that's kind of come out of his shop. It's really unique. He's not done anything like this before, and he hasn't done anything since. I think this came out around 4 years ago, and still absolutely perfect. You know, the centering perfect. Oh, I forgot to mention this, but a nice touch on the backspacer. You have a little Damascus piece on the carbon fiber backspacer. That's just, all of it is just extremely lovely. And on his relativity models, you know, the lock he uses, or sorry, not the lock, but the lock up of the knife is actually with these two lugs. Instead of having a stop pin, the pin is actually part of the blade, and it moves in and into the frame like this, and it locks up. So the top and bottom part of the frames do have kind of like a channel where, you know, these lugs can go in. Really cool. Some other knives have it, but it's not common. It is not nearly as easy as, you know, a stop pin that's drilled into the frame here. All right. I know I'm not doing the knife justice, but I just wanted to at least put it out there so other people can see why Todd's work is so sought after, why, you know, even through the ups and downs of the market, his prices still remain high. You know, he's still one of the most sought after makers to this day, and this is why. You know, he continually innovates, ones up himself, makes something that no one else does, even though it's still a tactical genre knife. It's just incredible. All right. Thank you very much for watching.